Hey there nation, welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and now today we're doing something a little bit different. Usually on Sundays we alternate between two of our different series of battle reports, the 9th Saga, which is our 9th Age battle reports, as well as Age of the Realms, which is our Age of Sigmar battle reports. And this time we're doing a little bit different. We're trying out a new series called Shadows Over Shadespire. This is the very first episode of that new series. We're not going to put it on Sundays. We're probably going to pick another day of the week in order to put this up. But the reason why we're debuting it today is because this is the latest installment of new rule changes that came out for Age of Sigmar, for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, as a new skirmish rules. And it's kind of like, it kind of reminds you a little bit of Mordheim, in the sense that you have a warband, you have a very small unit of troops, you use renown points in order to hire up your warband, and you go into the city of Shadespire, which is a undead city that has been destroyed by the gods, and they have to fight it out for renown and for wealth and for power in the ruins of a once ancient city. And so I thought it'd be kind of like an interesting idea to kind of pursue this one and try it out and see what we think about it. Haven't seen any skirmish battle reports yet on YouTube yet, so I figured it'd be kind of a new thing to kind of break into. So this is the very first episode of our little Shadows Over Shadespire campaign. It is fought between myself with my Cheapskates, which is my Empire warband, versus my buddy Odeth of the Esoteric Order of the Thousand Suns, which is his Tzeentch Arcanites a warband. We made this one a little bit different. Usually in the game you start off with 25 points, which is called renown points, what they're called, and each different unit has a different number of renown points associated to it. So that's how you go about hiring members of your warband and increasing your numbers over time. You're supposed to start off with 25, but we felt that that was too small of a number in order to have an effectively sized warband, so we decided to bump it up to 50. So if you'll notice in the rules, when we look over these lists real quick, they're a lot larger than 25 points for those of you who follow along with the skirmish rules. And so if you're wondering if that's the case, that is why. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to put on some background music real quick. We'll show you the rosters as well as the warbands that are taking place in this battle report, and then we'll move on to the actual battle report properly. Alright guys, let's get this on. Alright you guys, so welcome to Shadespire. As you can see on this table, we're fighting on a 4x4 table, and that's because according to the new skirmish rules, that's the size of the table that you kind of fight on. At the same time, this one's supposed to be a very terrain heavy type of game because it is a skirmish game, so it's kind of like in the vein of Necromunda as well as Mordheim of old, and so that's what we decided to do. So you can see we have a lot of buildings scattered throughout the entirety of the terrain. We have a wall that kind of cuts off a corner of the table from the rest of the army to represent that this is the first of the burgs leading into Shadespire. We got a slime river cutting the board in half. We got villages, we got huts and ruined buildings and towers and bridges and gantryways and towers and all kinds of cool stuff. So you can see we're fighting on a 4x4 table. I am fighting on the near side of the board, so you can see my army is deployed there. My opponent Odeth has deployed his army on the far side of the board. So let's go into the individual deployment areas and talk about exactly where everything is located. Alright, let's go ahead and start about my left-hand flank for my deployment. As you can see, I have my unit of called Rommel's Rangers, which are my 4 Empire Archers, and right behind them I also have a Pistolier Outrider Champion, who's also carrying a repeater handgun. His name is Rommel. He's basically their leader, and he's kind of like making up the left-hand flank, so that way they can kind of maneuver through the village, make their way to the Slime River, and kind of attack my opponent on the left-hand flank, so that way I get Odeth into a crossfire. That's pretty much the idea going on with it here. So that's the deployment here on the left-hand flank. And make up my cinder deployment at the base of that tower. As you can see, I have Commander Cheapskate himself, which is the guy armed with that huge Warhammer in the back. That's my general, my Warband. In front of that, we have 3 members of the Black Company. Those are 3 great swords. And then right next to him, of course, we have 4 members of the Cheap Shots, which are 4 Empire handgunners. Up on the top of the tower, I got my marksman armed with his Hockland long rifle because I like me some long range shooting goodness. So that makes a deployment for the center as well. Alright, then we're going to go to the other side of the table now and talk about the deployment for the Esoteric Order of the Thousand Suns. This is my buddy Odeth's Tzeentch Arcanites army. As you can see, he's got a little bit of a smaller warband. That's because Tzeentch Arcanites actually have more points, renown points associated to them. In the very back there, we got Skeksis of Guard Crystals. That's his leader. He's decided to take a Zangor Shaman as his leader for this one, for his warband. Right in front of him, of course, we have 3 members of the Changelings, which are 3 Zangors. Those guys are also armed with twin Savage Blades, so that way they get the extra +1 to hit as well, and bonuses for being near their Zangor leader. On the right hand side there, proxying that with some Beastman models, we got 4 Cheapskates Acolytes. Those guys are also packing Arcanite shields as well as Wicked Blades, so that way they can get an extra save when it comes to the fighting as well. So that pretty much makes the deployment for the Tzeentch Arcanites on this one. And that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1. The Tzeentch Arcanites win the initiative on this part, and this photo is taken directly after the command phase and also at the movement phase as well. So you can see pretty much Odeth doesn't waste any time trying to get as close as he possibly can to my units, start magicking me, as well as hitting me with some shooting before engaging me in close combat. He's a Tzeentch Arcanites army, and that's pretty much how they roll. Here's a close-up of his forces moving up as quickly as it possibly can. He originally runs his Zangors because they get both running as well as charging if he wants to get off in the charge phase as well. Also during the hero phase, he casts Arcane Shield upon that unit of Zangors, so that way they get +1 to their save as well. And of course, he's kind of tucking his Shaman in right behind him so that way they don't get shot as well. And on the right-hand side, of course, you got his Cheapskates Acolytes. He moves them up just regular 6 inches so that way he can shoot in the next turn. And during the shooting phase, Odeth uses the Zangor's Icon Bearer's ability, which gives him an 18-inch range that basically gives him 1 mortal wound if they roll a 4 up on a d6. Because there's 1 wizard next to that unit, he rolls his d6, he gets a 5, kills one of my great swords right off the bat, which is pretty brutal on that part. But you know, that's just the way it kind of rolls at that part. Because there is no hand-to-hand combat, we go directly to battle shock tests. I pass my battle shock test, so because of that, nobody in my army flees away. And so because of that, we go directly to the bottom, turn number 1 for the Empire. Alright, so the very first thing we decided to do for the Empire, for my Cheapskates, I decided to use my command ability, hold the line. That way I get +1 to hit for my handgunners, so long as they don't move and they stay in place. So the idea here is I want to start shooting at them at long range and actually take these guys down as much as possible. So with command phase over, we go directly to the movement phase. And as you can see in this photo, I pretty much move everything up kind of gingerly. I don't really run, I just move up my regular maximum movement allowance, so that way I can start enveloping the Esoteric Order of the Thousand Suns, so that way I can take him out with some long-range firepower. As you can see on the left-hand side, I have Rommel. I have him move up on his horse, getting kind of perpendicular to that main whole line of Tzeentch Arcanites, so that we can start opening up with his repeater handgun. I also move up my Rommel's Rangers, my 4 archers, just up their normal 5 inches, so that way they can try to do like a long bomb shot with their bows, hopefully hit something, and also cause some damage there. Also notice on the right hand side I also send a Commander Cheapskate as well as the members of the Black Company, so that way I can engage my opponent and keep him away from getting into my handgunners. Here's a close-up of Rommel and his Rangers getting ready to do some long-range goodness shooting. And here's a close-up of my vain attempt to send my great swords as well as Commander Cheapskate to protect my handgunners. So with moving out of the way, we go directly to the shooting phase. And after it's all said and done, I only managed to inflict 1 wound onto that Zangor. So one of the Zangors carries a wound on him. He's got 1 more wound before he dies, and that was absolutely disheartening. I did all this careful maneuvering and trying to get him in a crossfire, and my shooting was absolutely horrible. I just flubbed a lot of my rolls. A lot of my rolls weren't able to wound or to hit, for that matter. And the rolls that did hit, because of Arcane Shielding, these guys got a 4-up ward save, 4-up save, and so because of that, a lot of those guys kind of survived that as well. So it was a very, very brutal shooting phase. And since I didn't charge, and there's no combat phase, and there's no battle shock phase, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 and we roll for initiative. So here's the top of turn number 2 after command as well as movement phase. The Tzeentch Arcanites also secure the win again, so Odeth decides to move up his Esoteric Order of the Thousand Suns as well. This time he runs his Zangors and has his Brave Shaman follow right behind them, and the reason why is because these guys have Hornblowers and they can run and charge in the same turn. At the same time, he just gingerly moves up his Esoteric Acolytes on the right hand side, the normal 6 inches, so that way he can get range and then shooting. So that pretty much makes up the movement phase on this one. Here's a close-up of his wizard. This is before this is taken after the move phase as well as the command phase. What he decided to do was cast arcane shielding onto his Zangor shaman, because last time in the last phase I actually tried to cut loose with Rommel, which is my outrider armed with a repeater handgun, as well as my Hawkland long rifle wielding marksman for my handgunners, and we actually tried to catch this guy and try to kill him. So because of that, my buddy Odeth wisely puts arcane shielding on him to improve his save, because my goal here is to kill his general, because that general is very, very deadly. Also in the command phase, here's a close-up of a spell that went off. The Zangor used his Bolt of Change ability, I think is what it's called. Oh, Boon of Mutation, that's the name of the spell. It's a magic missile spell that causes D3 mortal wounds onto a unit if successfully cast. Since he's got the Book of Cursed Tome, which gave him a +1 to his casting ability, he did exactly that. He got off that spell, caused 2 mortal wounds, killed my 2 Empire Swordsmen, and because of the rules of that spell, any casualties that take place in there can transform into Zangor additional Zangor. 2 more Zangor pop up on the table as well. Now, I know some of you guys will be saying, like, Mr. Isn't that Commander Cheapskate? Isn't that part of summoning? Aren't you not supposed to be able to use summoning in skirmish rules? Well, technically yes and technically no, because the spell says that you're not specifically summoning up new Zangor. It's just an effect of the spell. So we just kind of figure that's the way it works. I mean, it doesn't really benefit me in any way, since I can't really do any something anyhow because I'm playing an Empire army, but my opponent's going to help him out, and I like the challenge, so we just went with it. So whatever you guys think about that, if you think that spell effects where new creatures pop up counts as summoning or not, let me know in the comments, because we would like to hear you guys' input on that part. So yeah, anyways, that's what took place in the command phase. This photo is taken directly after the shooting phase. I forgot to take this picture. This is a combination of both shooting as well as charge. I forgot to stop and take a picture of each one because we were just kind of too excited to try this game out. Originally during the shooting phase, they managed to get off 1 wound onto my general because they used the Icon Bearer's ability. Unfortunately for my buddy Odeth, none of his Esoteric Acolytes actually made any of their shots, so because of that they missed. So they put a wound on my general, but that's okay because he's got that Blessed Amulet, which gives him +1 to his wounds as well. However, during the charge phase, all 5 of these Zangor charged directly into my general. Now my general has to just try to like hold out and survive. I'm not thinking he's going to make it to the combat phase, but if he can, that'd be good, because then I can give bonuses one more time to my handgunners. My handgunners can, and my archers can then get bonuses to shoot and take out that unit, and then I might be able to survive this. But yeah, things are not looking good for Commander Cheapskate. And like a boss, my general survives, which is pretty awesome as well. Luckily for me, I did some really good rolling on my armor save, so they managed to put 3 wounds onto my general, so he's like almost dead. He's got 2 more wounds before he just kind of drops dead from all the violence that these guys kind of got off on him. But I got extremely lucky on this one. My buddy, well, a couple of his rolls were not very good. I got some awesome armor save rolls, so that really saved my life on that part, so I was really going to help out. So because of this end of combat phase, we take a boss shock test. I lost 2 guys, I rolled a d6, but I rolled a 1, and so because of that, not much really happened from that part, so that was kind of neat on that. So with that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Empire. Alright, during my command phase, I use my Hold the Line ability, and I also get those bonuses off onto my handgunners, so that way they get a +1 to hit in the next turn as well. My hope here is to have these guys open fire in the shooting phase with both my archers as well as my handgunners, thin out these Zangor as much as possible, and hopefully have my general just finish these guys off with his great weapon, because his great weapon causes D3 wounds, which is freaking outstanding. So we'll see exactly what happens on that part. And here's a shot for the rest of the table showing movement phase. As you can see, I move up my my Rommel's Rangers, which is my 4 archers, and move up to the other side of that sludge river onto that gantry, so that way they can take shots with their bows. Unfortunately for them, because they move, they don't get to benefit from the Hold the Line ability, because that's only if you don't move, but I need these guys as close as possible, so that way they can also charge during the charge phase. My plan here is to have my handgunners and archers shoot at the Zangor, take out as many as possible, then have my archers charge into the flank of the Zangor with my general, and that when the combat phase, I might be able to wipe out whoever's left over and survive at the same time. Also, if you notice on the top as well, I also deployed Rommel and had him move up as quickly as he possibly could onto that stone bridge. That way he could also cut loose with his repeater handgun into the Zangor Shaman Skexus of Dark Crystals. If I cause enough wounds, I can then charge, finish off in close combat, and then move on as well, and hopefully defeat my opponent by making him take a battle shock test, which his units will basically flee. So that is the plan, that is the idea I'm kind of shooting for, and we're going to see exactly what that looks like. Here's a close-up of my Rommel's Rangers getting ready to open up with their longbows onto this unit of Zangor. And here's a close-up of Rommel himself getting ready to open up with his repeater handgun onto Skeksis of Dark Crystals. And during the shooting phase, my plan worked off beautifully. I managed to inflict, I think it was 5 wounds onto the Xeno Zangor after all the shooting was done. All 3 of my handgunners, as well as my Hockland long rifle wielding handgunner, opened up. Same thing with my archers. I managed to kill 2 Zangor right off the bat. Also put another floating wound onto another one, so there's only 3 Zangor left over, which means that my general has a better chance of surviving in the combat phase. So with that being said, we go directly to the shooting phase at the top. And at the same time, managed to put 2 wounds onto Skeksis of Dark Crystals using my Rommel's repeater handgun. So that is also cool as well, because that guy is now about a third of the way down to his death. We can finish that guy off as well. So with shooting phase over, we go directly to the charge phase. As you can see in this photo, my archers make the charge. They get swooped into the flank of the Zangor, so now my general and my archers will fight against the unit of Zangor and hopefully pull that off as well. At the same time, I charge up Rommel against the Zangor Shaman. Now, I do have a problem with this battle coming up because I basically gambled this part. Because the battle is very much, the combat system is very much like the Age of Sigmar, I'll have to basically start with my general first and hopefully be able to wipe out these Zangor. I'm hoping what's going to happen is that my general will be able to do that. Then if I got a Zangor left over, he'll just probably die in the next combat phase. But I'm doing this and sacrificing my outrider at the same time. While it's a rough gamble and I only have only basic troops left over, it's a risk I got to take at this point. So that pretty much makes up the charge phase. With that being said, we go to the combat phase. And the combat phase, it worked out absolutely beautifully on this part. My general was able to take out 2 of the Zangor by himself with his great hammer. The last one flubbed his rolls for his attack against my general, so my general survived with 2 wounds left over. And of course, the other archers were able to finish off the remainder of what happened to that last Zangor and managed to defeat him as well. So that was pretty epic as well. At the same time, I managed to inflict 1 wound onto Skeksis of Dark Crystals, so because of that part was pretty awesome as well. And my buddy O'Death just flubbed a bunch of his rolls. He rolled a bunch of 1s and 2s. He actually used up one of his rerolls because there's a difference of 2 points in a renown on this one. And in the game of Warhammer Skirmish, the difference in renown doesn't really equal into like additional experience or anything like that. It just gives you rerolls that you could have during the combat, during the game. Unfortunately for him, though, he didn't manage to hit my guy, so because of that, it ended up being kind of good for my troops in this combat phase. So that being said, we go directly to the battle shock phase. And because all 5 Zangor died, my buddy rolled a d6, he rolled a 4, and basically, sorry, no, not 4, I rolled a 9, but I done with a total, so 3 more of his guys had to leave. He chose 3 of his Carrick Acolytes, and those guys flew off the table. So all he has left now is his general, which is his Zangor Shaman, as well as 1 Carrick Acolyte. So things are starting to look up for me. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 3, we roll off for initiative. And the Esoteric Order, the Thousand Suns, get the initiative on this part. So you can see in this photo, this taken directly after the command phase. The very first thing my buddy O'Death does, he casts Boon of Mutation off onto my Outrider, managed to kill him as well, and summon 1 more brand new Zangor to the table as well. So now he's got a Zangor, his general, as well as 1 Carrick Acolyte left over. And so after the command phase, we go to the movement phase. Actually, I lied. We didn't go to the movement phase yet, and the reason why is because my buddy O'Death used his Sorcerer's Elixir ability onto his Zangor Shaman, which allows him to cast another spell, and this one will go off. He got Arcane Bolt off, finished off my general. I forgot to mention that as well in the last command phase. So yeah, my general got killed. He got 3 mortal wounds put on from that Arcane Bolt. It was kind of rough, but you know, we're trying to win, so that's what happens. So now we go to movement phase. As you can see here in the movement phase, pretty much he just sends up his troops as quickly as he possibly can and start engaging them, so that way he can engage him some shooting with his Icon Bearer, Zangor, as well as Carrick Acolyte, probably thin out my archers, close in combat those guys, and just kind of proceed to just beat my army to death with close combat. And during the shooting phase, he did exactly that. He killed 2 of my archers, 1 from a Carrick Acolyte throwing a Sorcerer's Bolt, the other one from the Icon Bearer. He then charges in the charging phase, so that way he can start engaging my last 2 archers, and managed to slaughter them all to the man. And during the battle shock phase, I had to roll off to see exactly if I lacked any losses. Lucky for me, though, I rolled a perfect 1, so I don't have to worry about any of my guys running away, which is actually a godsend on that part. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 3 for the Empire. And there really isn't much to do. I decided not to move into my troops. I keep them exactly where they're located at, because I'm deciding what I'm going to do instead is try to shoot these guys as much as possible, inflict as many wounds as possible, and then finish these guys off in close combat. And so with that being said, we go directly to the shooting phase. In the shooting phase, I managed to kill the very last 2 wounds off of the Zangor Shaman. I had all 4 of my handgunners open up on that guy. Luckily, for me, it was the Hockland long rifle. That was the actual glass coffin, the nail for that guy, so I managed to kill his general at the same time, so that was pretty epic. I then send my cheap shots charging directly into the Zangor as well as the Esoteric Acolyte, engage these guys in close combat. Hopefully I'll be able to kill one of them, if not both of them, and end this, because right now this is anybody's game. It all depends on this combat phase and exactly see what happens. And luckily for me, I managed to kill that Zangor. I lost a handgun in the process. I then followed up to start hitting up the last of the Esoteric Acolytes, but then because there's the combat phase over, we go directly to the Battle Shock phase. And in the end, I win because my opponent's last Esoteric Acolyte ran away during the Battle Shock phase. So yeah, now all the Sigmar Arcanites are now completely off the table. And there's the end of the game, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, I only have 3 handgunners left from my entire warband still left at the table. However, I did win because it fell Battle Shock. They're basically kind of balled out like you would in Necromunda or in Ornheim of old. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this battle report is now over. We go directly to the post game.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright folks, now it's time to talk about the post game. This is the post game for Shadows Over Shadespire. This is our Warhammer Age of Sigmar Skirmish battle report number 1. It is a typical warband fight, and here's what exactly happened in the post game for the Cheapskates. Ended up being a major victory for me, so because of that I got plus 10 renown points added to my overall pool, so I can use those 10 renown points to hire new members of my warband. Also during the rewards of battle, I rolled a 2d6 and rolled an ancient relic, and basically I found a Helm of Authority, which now my general can carry 2 items, which is actually kind of cool as well. He could also give out 2 different command abilities during the hero phase as well, which is also kind of cool for that part. For the recruitment, I decided to use all 10 of my renown points. I decided to spend them all. I hired up 2 new Empire Greatswords, so now I have 5 of those guys in the Black Company, and decided to hire 2 more Empire handgunners as well, so now I have 5 handgunners in total. 6 handgunners in total. My new renown points is now at 60 points for my warband, and my current record is at 1 win and as well as 0 losses. Now for the Esoteric Order of the Thousand Suns, because they lost, they only earned 6 renown points. However, during the rewards of battle phase, when they rolled a 2d6 to see exactly what they get for reward, my buddy O'Death rolled Heroic Saga, which means he gets plus 2 to his renown points, so now he gets 8 additional points, which is actually cool. And since he already had 2 points left over because he couldn't spend them, he gets a total of 10. So he decided to hire 2 new Zangor for his warband as well, so now I'll be facing 5 of those guys. We're going to run into these guys again. And he also hired another Esoteric Acolyte, and he's got 5 of those guys as well. His new renown total is at 60 points, and his current record is at 0 wins as well as 1 loss. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much going to round up for this one. So this is the very first of our battle reports, Shadows Over Shadespire, which is our new Warhammer Skirmish battle report series. Tell me what you guys think. Do you think it's an interesting game? Do you guys think it's not a good game? What is your guys' opinion on this part? It kind of reminds me a lot of Necromunda and Mordheim in the way that they've done it, only using Age of Sigmar rules. So it's kind of an interesting game. Alright, you guys, as always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Your guys' input is always invaluable. Also, feel free to check out our Google Plus page, our Instagram account, as well as our Facebook page for all the latest and greatest on our hobby. Alright, you guys, that'll do it for this one. You guys stay classy. We